Well, good evening, everyone. It is Airfix and Chill on a Monday night. Everyone's phone's ringing now. Turn it off, John.
I'm just going to mute it. Sorry.
He owes us all a pint now because he didn't have his phone switched off. Anyway, good evening, all.
It won't go on again, you're all right.
That's all right then, John. All right, good evening, all. We have tonight a special guest. We have Will from Beacon Models in the panel tonight. So if you don't know of Beacon Models, it was Matt on the show. He found them on a Kickstarter, and so we all jumped over there and we pledged money so we could get our hands on a particular scale of kit. So I'm going to go over to Will in a minute and we'll discuss what Beacon Models have released so far in their journey. And I've asked him on so he can talk to us about the vision and the future of Beacon Models. But first, hi to Sully with his chicken coop there on the deck there. Is that right?
Yeah, that one.
Looking good. We've got James from Tabody Go Models. How are you, my friend?
Hot dead.
Brilliant. We've got Matt from Model Minutes, which I'm glad you're on. Because it's your fault we even know about Beacon Models.
To be brutally honest, I think it was James from LPJ Models who mentioned it to me to start with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I went a bit nuts and I was like, I really need these in my life. I think James was a bit like, yeah, they look good. And I was like, no, I need them.
So that's because I want you told us about them, then you did the video on it, and so we then all went over and pledged. We've got John Alex Scale Modeling all the way over from the United States.
Hi everyone.
We got Alex for Man's Model Moments. Are you still wet or are you dried off now?
Still wet. I got a dehumidifier from Travis Perkins this morning, although I think it doesn't work properly, so I might have to go back.
Okay.
It doesn't seem to be condensing much.
No.
I think I could have licked more off the floor than it's got. But
I think with the humidifiers, you've got to let the process run. I think it takes it more from the air first than it does from the floor. But
well, I'll see how it is tomorrow morning because if I haven't got anything, then
fair enough.
Take it back and get what works.
No worries. And also we have John Parker also in. Nice to see you, John. Thanks for joining us. And then also to the top right, middle right, we've got Will from Beacon Models. Thank you for joining us tonight, my friend. You're on mute.
I am, sorry. Thank you very much for inviting me. It took me a bit by surprise there. You dropped me a message, two days ago saying you want to come on Airfix and Chill. And I was like, oh, brilliant. I spend most of my time watching it, so nice to be on it.
No, it's I read your message about Telford and totally understand where you're coming from. And I thought, do you know what? We need to get Beacon on because you are the new kids on the block. Maybe there are people here who have never heard of you. And to be really honest with you, I've got them on my bench. I'm not built, obviously. I've got the models on my bench that you've produced. I'm going to nip over there in a minute. But do you want to explain the actual beginnings of Beacon Models? Because, as I said, you came on with a Kickstarter, which wasn't successful, but you've actually gone and launched a 144th scale Spitfire and Messerschmitt on the tightest of shoestring budgets.
Yeah, unbelievably tight budget, but we did it. The genesis of Beacon, going right back to the very beginning of it was a couple of years ago, probably 2016-ish. At the time, I had a little resin warship company called Guilan Models, which some of you might have heard of. I don't know. It's popular with 700 scale resin warship modelers. And I was doing all right with that. Those were in the days when you could post something on Facebook and it would sell. It was the golden age of small business, really. And I thought, well, there's not a whole lot of stuff in 1/4 scale, and that's another, small, intricate scale, a bit like 700 scale warships. And I sort of liked that idea, and that sort of fermented for a few years. And then in 2020, during the lockdowns, I was at home with a newborn baby, which was genuinely quite fun. I was lucky that the lockdown was quite a pleasant experience for me in that regard. and thought, well, I've got not much to do. There's no work on, so I'll get designing. And as fate would have it, Brian Wall, who I'd met at IPMS Telford in 2019, the year before, he dropped me an email saying, Wingnut Wings is closed. Do you know anyone who's got any model design work on? And I was like, oh, first of all, that was pretty shocking news. A company like Wingnut closing down. I remember it really rocked the whole aero modeling world, really, because that's a huge name that just sort of closed its doors virtually overnight. And then there was all kinds of spicy drama with it that happened after that. Like the Border Lancaster that's now seen the light of day. But for years, we didn't know whether that would ever come out. It was like 2 million quid of tooling. But anyway, Brian was at a loose end, and I said, well, I've got this idea that I've been working on, and would you be interested in sort of teaming up and having a go at it? And he was very willing. So we sat down, hashed out a plan. He went off and actually did the CAD design work. So I didn't actually design the Spitfire and the 109, which is something I can do and have done and indeed do professionally for other companies. But my focus was more on the business development and marketing side of things, which I was starting to get more confident with at that point. So yeah, it took him about maybe 6 weeks to turn those two kits out in his spare time. Just amazing workmanship, incredible design mind. Brian is a really talented guy. And then in 2021, about a year later, when everything had sort of the foundations were all in place, we went to Kickstarter. We launched our campaign. We raised, I think it was about 18,000 pounds off the top of my head, which for a new company, looking back on it at the time, I was like, oh, we didn't fund, that's a shame. But looking back on it now, I think that's actually a real achievement to raise that kind of money for a completely unknown entity, just on the trust of the modeling community. And by then, we had the Discord going that you mentioned. We had a really solid group. And Matt's video did us an enormous favor. I mean, Matt had probably, how many subscribers did you have back then, mate? About 20,000, 25? A lot, around that number. But the number of people that saw that, they just went straight to the Kickstarter and backed it. So we had a couple hundred people. And then after we didn't quite reach the money that we needed to, which we think we were asking for 40,000 at the time, we went back and said, okay, we talked to the factory, we've got an arrangement with them, and we can now do it for about 20. And so we opened it up for pre-orders, and that all went through our web shop. And then it all went off to tooling. And you can see a lot of the process on our Instagram and social medias. We tried to be quite open with that. And a lot of people had never seen tools being made before. And it was like, well, we weren't doing anything particularly revolutionary. And people seemed really interested in that. So that's something that we pride ourselves on doing, is actually giving a behind the scenes look at how these things are made and engineered and put together as something you can buy in a model shop. So that was all done by early this year. They were ready to release. It was a bit of a difficult development. There was a lot of stuff that took a lot of time, but they've been on sale since January. They've done pretty well. And now we're looking forward to doing the rest of the Battle of Britain range. That's our sort of initial goal, is 10 aircraft from the Battle of Britain. And because everyone always asks, I'll just list them now. We've got the Spitfire and the 109 first, but in no particular order. We'd like to do the Hurricane, the Defiant, the Blenheim, the Stuka, the ME-110, the Dornier 17, the Hankel 111, and the Junkers 88. Those are the first 10 that we'd like to get in the range in future Kickstarters. So yeah, that's the long version of the long and short of it.
Fantastic. Well, on my bench here, I have the two, the box basically of the Spitfire Mark 1A and the BF 109E4. I moved the box art is fantastic. It's really just looks great, and the fact it's a Spitfire firing on the 109, there's it does make it good. This is the dogfight set, 1 to 1.4 scale, and basically you get two sprues with the tiniest of canopies I've ever seen. They are absolutely tiny, and so this one here is, and you must be really proud of these. This is the Spitfire. And you're giving us two sets of wings there, I see. All the other bits and pieces, but just look at it. Compared to I've got the Airfix So just to compare in size, you know, 172 to 144. I thought I would wow, but that's basically the size of the plane, the width of the plane there. And the detail on it is incredible. And you know, Matt, you've built yours. You said that you've for 144. This is the most accurate you've seen, isn't it?
I built the test sample of the 109, and even though the test sample had issues, it is like one of the most detailed 144th scale kits that I've built. Don't get me wrong, there are other companies out there with very well detailed, but for the first model from this company, this is it's wonderful. The fact as well that the pilot, if you want to put a pilot in there, there's a resin extra for that. There's a 3D printable pilot in a seat, which you can put as a direct replacement for the seat in the kit. So it's not just a detailed model, it comes with options, and I think it's the options that we really like as modelers, is having that freedom to express.
Yeah,
a couple of people have asked us, you know, why we didn't do plastic pilots like the Airfix one, and the truth is that we could have, but it would have looked awful. It would have really let the rest of the kit down. Like at that scale, you know what the Airfix pilots are like, and they're good for what they are. But when you're talking about plastic mold, where you've got the angles of draft and the limitations of detail, when we shrank that down into 1/4, he just looked like a blob, and he just didn't look any good. So we thought, rather than do it badly, we're just going to do a resin part and sell 3 at a time, and have them really, really nicely detailed, because the level of detail that 3D printing can go to now is incredible. And it's funny, you mentioning the problems with the test build, Matt. What the folks probably don't know is that when we sent Matt one of the first test shots for the 109, there was some alignment issues where it wasn't that the parts weren't aligning, it's that where the mold was closing, it was ever so slightly off. Like one half of the mold wasn't aligning properly. So all of the parts were sort of skewed a little bit. And we actually ended up scrapping half the tool and cutting it again, which on a first tool is not great. But luckily the factory was fantastic. They did it again at no cost, because they said it's a problem with one of our machines. We can't very well let you release a kit that's got that big problem with it. So as soon as we told them about it, they said, yeah, not a problem, we'll recut the tool, and they did it. And fair play to them. I mean, what a fantastic supplier to do that voluntarily.
I'm just looking over the kit now, and I said I saw it when I first got hold of it, but it's just absolutely incredible. It's so lovely. I like the way that you've even lettered up where you put stuff here. I guess that's what it is. A, B, C, D.
Yeah, there's so many things you can put on the bottom of a 109E, as it turns out. Early in the Second World War, there was only really the fighter bombers, the Yabo versions of them, which it wasn't so much that they came out of the factory like that. At least I don't think so. They were just fitted with bomb racks. So you've got I think those are SC-50, 50 kilo bombs, I think it is. And then there's the SC-250, which is the bigger one on the frame. I think that was 250 kilos. I'm not exactly sure on that. I'd have to look at my notes again. So you've got different bomb racks for those two. And then you have 2 different fuel tanks as well that were introduced late in the Battle of Britain, and they were more commonly seen on the E7 variant, which is what you saw in North Africa as well. And we thought, although this kit is boxed as a Spitfire Mark 1A and a BF 109E4, the Spitfire parts on the frame actually build an early Mark 1, which is the flat canopy one with the stick radio mask and the 2-bladed Watts propeller. The Mark 1A, which is the one that everybody is familiar with. I'm sure we've probably all built at least 4 of them in our modelling career. You've got the Mark 2A, which is the gun, the machine gun armed one, and the Mark 2B, which is the one with the cannons there. That's not actually a Mark 5 wing, because it's slightly different. So that's a Mark 2 wing with the cannons. And then there is the Mark 1 PR, which the only difference between the Mark 1A and the armed photo reconnaissance one is one of the canopies has blisters on it, which you might just be able to see on your camera, Moz. I don't know if you can.
It's that one there, isn't it? Is that
you can just about make out the blisters on it. That's right. Yeah. It had a camera in the fuselage, but that's just going to be represented by a tiny black dot decal that goes on the emergency or the rescue hatch. It was very, very small. So there's 4 variants of Spitfire, and then the 109 you've got the E1, which is the one that was only armed with machine guns. That served with the Condor Legion in the Spanish Civil War, and a couple of the various units in the early Battle of Britain. The E4 and E3, which were virtually indistinguishable, really. The E7, which is the later one, and then the E7 Trop, which has the tropical filter. So we've really tried to squeeze as much onto that as we can. And in fact, the next Kickstarter we're going to do is just to fund the production of all of these variants. So we're going to do single bagged versions. So it'll be, one Mark II Spitfire in a bag, one BF 109 E7 in a bag. So there'll be 8 different single kits to buy. And if we raise enough money, then we'll do a double Mark 1A kit and a double 109 E4 kit. So, basically your classic Battle of Britain duo, but with 2 of each in the box instead of 1 of each in one box, which is what we've got now. So many people have said, I only want two Spitfires, or I only want 2 109s. So that's what we're going to try and do.
The instructions are beautiful. I presume your co-founder designed these as well.
He did those. Yeah,
wings feel about these. Do you know what?
Very much so.
But yeah, you've got all the options here. It's really nice. I was only talking last week on my Substack that I would love to see us go back to the old instructions where you name the parts. So just give them a number, actually give them their name, so that we actually educate ourselves when we see a plane.
That's actually a good idea. I like that.
Cool, don't go away with too many ideas. my own models, my own scale models, my ideas tonight. But yeah, it's you've given us a QR code for the paint conversions, because you have a generic, I presume, color scheme. So you got your RAF dark green, dark earth, egg blue, RAF night, RAF yellow, black, aluminium exhaust, and then you can QR code to the range, and then you can match up which colors you need. So yeah, that's the Spitfire, and then there's the Messerschmitt. So, but just showing, I know you gave a separate set of decals. I think these ones are cartographed as well, but you can just see the delight. They if decals were a snow globe, you would put this on your fireplace.
It's nice.
They are crisp. They obviously, you went for cartograph because they are the best anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, you just can't do any better. And we thought, if these are going to be premium kits, which is what we wanted them to be, we thought we're probably going to appeal to people who've sort of been through the Airfix and Tamiya pipeline, sort of learning the model trade, so to speak. And we thought that the customers we're going to have most interested in the products will probably be a bit experienced with model building, although these are quite user friendly. I wouldn't say that a beginner couldn't make one. But yeah, we thought that things like really good quality decals was an important feature that we should really include. So cartograph's really the only option there. Is they're just the Ferrari of decals.
Yeah. Story about the bubble now. I think that's where the decal was being in between the 2 kits, so you've got a bit of a push there.
From, ejector pin.
But that's not a worry, because it's not actually affecting the decals themselves. But I noticed how you got around the symbols here at the bottom.
That's just to head off any potential trouble at the pass. A lot of companies don't even put the Hakenkreuz in. I wish we lived in a world where there was, an appreciation of context, and where it was obvious that somebody building a model is essentially recreating, a historical fact, and not, it's not a political statement. Everybody in model making knows that, but unfortunately, the law can be a bit sticky in some territories. So that was the best solution we could come up with.
It's the only solution. It's the only solution, to be fair. It's the only, and actually that looks better to me because I think that's an easier way of attaching them if you feel the need to. I hate the ones that are half and half. They just you try and get them to line it, but you just put that cross and then add the tails to them. I think it seems to be a bit of an easier solution.
There's a lot of overlap, so there's a good amount of margin for error, and you only have to sort of move them around a little bit, and they do locate quite nicely and easily, which is good. I was pleased with how those came out.
Very, very nice indeed. The other thing you're into, Aljo, I'm going to show you the that's not the one. I've done the canopies. Yeah, is the 3D resin prints that you've done. This came with the kit, which is the German. That's the German. What's it called? Isn't it the pilot? Is it the pilots?
So on the right, you've got the Kubelwagen on the right, and then there's the standing Luftwaffe pilot who's fallen off by the looks of it. The BF-109 pilot, and then on the left, from left to right, you've got the Hillman Tilly RAF utility vehicle. You've got a standing RAF fighter pilot, and then the Spitfire pilot sitting in his seat. And they are just drop-in replacement parts, as you mentioned. Those are actually some of the earlier prints that came free with the rewards for the backers and pre-orders. We've re-engineered them now so that the windows aren't solid, so they're actually a frame, and you can just use a little bit of Microsol Crystal Clear, I think it is. That's what it's called. That works really well in those windows, and then they look a bit more realistic with the clear glazing.
If I was done with that pilot, he's come off in the box, I think. I'll have a look. But yeah, these came with it. So and you rub these down and spray these up. These will look fine. And so you've got your pilots in there, which I'm trying to get the camera to focus. But yeah, and then these are 172, aren't they? So you've gone for the 172 prints as well, which just say the man on the bike here for 172. Look at the detail on that, man. Look at the detail. Look, it's even got the wool for the flying jacket on.
Oh yeah, the guy who sculpted it is unbelievable. He's really, really good. He works for a company that we work with on this. I think they're called I don't think they're called, I know they're called Monster Fight Club. So shout out to them. They're a really great company. They make a lot of really great figures for tabletop gaming. I know they've done Cyberpunk and Borderlands, and anyway, they've got a really fantastic creative team, and they were very very kindly helped us out with the sculpting, and they took on that work, and they did an amazing job. But I designed those vehicles. That was part of that, some of my CAD that I did. That is the SS Jaguar 100, that was back when it was SS cars, not Jaguar cars. So this is before Jaguar as we know it today. But that is sort of the original Jaguar sports car, an absolutely beautiful late 1930s design. And when I saw it, I just thought, I need to see one of those with a bunch of RAF officers outside in the dispersal. It's got to be done.
Yeah, as I said, they're beautiful. And there's high print res because you can see a little bit of line there, but not a lot of it. Just on the door there, you can see most of it's smooth. A quick rub down and you'll be fine, I think.
Old English white with red leather.
Yeah,
for that one.
Yeah, and it comes as two-part. Where's the seat to? So basically, I took them off off their kind of sprue. They come in two parts, and easy. Just you can paint the seats up and then just slot it in, and boom, there you go. You've got your car. It's the same with the Tilly as well. That's the seats are removable, so you can paint them up. But
so the new versions of the 144 vehicles are exactly like those, just half the size.
Half the size, yeah. And that's the sort of size. So comparing eggs to eggs, I should say.
And actually, this week as well, I should mention we just released a laser cut RAF dispersal hut kit in 72nd scale, which we've just fulfilled the pre-orders on that. We've got a couple left in stock. You can head over to the website and have a look at that. I should have sent you one, Mars. I should have sent you one ahead of time. But, that's the first laser cut kit I've actually done, and it came out really well. So I'll probably do a few more of those because I know a lot of people want things like control towers and blister hangers and things like that. So that would suit that, because we did try 3D printing 72nd scale dispersal huts, but they're such a big object. I was getting really bad warping with the resin and just all kinds of trouble. So I stopped selling them for a while, re-engineered it as a laser cut kit, and finally launched those this week.
Brilliant. Also, I was going to say that these actually come with a masking set somewhere, don't they? These kits, they do come with a masking.
In there somewhere.
What I've done with it, it was here before, and I can't really find it. In that the way, you look for something, you get it all together, and then you can't find the masking set with it. But it does come with the instructions. What do I do with that? I had it here before, and now I can't find it. Oh, I'll find it later. I'll find
Carpet
it.
monster.
Got in the box. No, I had the masking set somewhere. Now I can't find it. So
Moss, are they under that clear sprue at like 11:30 on your bench top? On your bench top.
On my bench top.
Look up where
behind the Jaguar, to the left of the Jaguar.
It's like hide and seek. This.
No, that's Decals. Oh, hang on, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I found it. It was in the bag. It was in the bag, and they come with a masking set as well. Well,
those are made by those are cut by
Look at
Pima
that.
in the Czech Republic.
And I wish everybody the best of luck. They are tiny, absolutely tiny. But they give you an option. They give you a masking set with it. And the price of this at launch, Will, was?
It's $21.95, but we've just started our Christmas sale. Well, technically the Christmas sale starts on Wednesday, but everything's all priced up now. So you can get these for 25% off at the moment. That's running until mid-December, so it's really good opportunity to add one to your stash if you want. We're also offering free shipping, both domestic and international, for all orders over £30. So there's a bit of a bargain there, I hope.
Bit of a bargain. I have linked into I've pinned it at the top, but I have linked.
Oz, we've been invaded.
I know, I saw him there. I tell you, it's go for Halloween and finish, mate.
It's Halloween tomorrow.
Yeah, I do apologise for the people in the chat who've asked any questions. I've been trying to show off the actual model, so let me just put back my camera so you can see me again. I haven't got a mask on.
Can I make a comment, Moss?
Of course you can, John.
I've built quite a few 144 scale warbirds from World War II, and I have never seen anything like the contents of that box.
Mm.
You've got 3 or 4 different options for both aircraft.
Yeah,
the transfers are incredible. The value for money is incredible, and the quality looks fantastic. So well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. That's really good to hear. I mean, this is a labour of love for me and Brian and Mike as well. I should mention Mike, who did all of our website and still is a stalwart and making sure everything works properly. But he's also starting to learn CAD as well. He's actually just done a lot of RAF trolleys that we'll be releasing down the line. So your trolley ack and your fuel bowser and oil bowser and stuff like that. So he's coming along there as well. But yeah, for the three of us, it's been something we've worked on really hard for the last 2-3 years, and although it's 3 years in our spare time.
Because you mentioned something earlier when you were putting your presentation up, that there wasn't an awful lot on the market in 144th. That's actually not 100% true.
Yeah, certainly not anymore.
In warbirds, there isn't an awful lot that's any good.
Yes.
But in modern aircraft, there is. There's quite a lot that's any good. In warbirds, which is what a lot of people want to build.
Yeah,
that's just unbelievable.
That's what we thought. I thought, why is there no Battle of Britain stuff in 144th? Now, Edward and Sweet and Platt do some stuff. Now, they are the gold standard. When I was doing the research for these, I bought a couple of Sweet kits, although they were expensive back then. I had to import them from Japan. A couple of the Edwards fit Mark 9. Do you guys say Edward or Edward? What do you say?
Edward.
We say Edward.
Edward. Yeah, there you go. I was glad I'm not making a fool of myself. But yeah, those kits are absolutely stunning. And I feel like in terms of the surface detail, if I'm being like a harsh critic with myself, I feel like we've come close, but we're not quite there on the level of those Japanese or Edward yet in terms of like the panel line fidelity, things like that. Like if I was to sort of self-criticize a bit there, but it's something that we want to work on and get better on. And that's just a matter of our tool makers getting used to the process, trying new things, pushing the machines further than they've taken them before. Because obviously on these first ones, we wanted to make sure it was doable. So we said to the toolmaker, what are the tolerances? How far can we go with fine panel lines and surface detail? And they gave us very specific numbers to use. But having successfully done that and them looking as good as they do, and very, very few complaints on them, which is wonderful, and heaps of praise, which it puts a smile on my face. There's still, I want to push it even further in the next kits and get even better with each kit that we do, so that not only have we got all of those options like you pointed out, and the fact that they're available and there's something that people want, you've got, they can go toe to toe with world-class models as well. That's my ambition for it.
Fantastic.
I mean, during the Battle of Britain, you had 4 different variants of Spitfire that were actually involved in the Battle of Britain. You can build any of those from that kit.
Yeah,
no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, right from 1938, I think, was when the Mark 1 kind of found its feet, all the way to early 1941, sort of towards the very end of the Battle of Britain, where you were starting to see a couple of the Mark 2s. That kind of thing. So we wanted to cover that. It's more of a historical period than a single aircraft, because 144 is really about storytelling. That's what we've found, is that the people who build our things, they tend to do like vignettes and dioramas. They'll pick a story to tell. Like they'll have a favorite pilot or a favorite story. So we picked Gerald Stapleton and Franz von Wehrer, and it was really hard to pick a dogfight to do, actually, because there's just so many. But 2 famous pilots, von Wehrer very well known, the one that got away. What a story, what a character. You could do an entire podcast on just that guy. So in 1940 in September, he crash landed in a field in Kent, was apprehended by the cook, I think, of the local garrison, and arrested by a cook waving a spoon, presumably. And then made his way to a prisoner of war camp in Canada, escaped, went all the way down through South America, back across, reunited with the Luftwaffe, and then killed in action on the Eastern Front in 1941, I believe. So, just these, it's not just the aircraft, it's the people that flew them and were involved with them, that built them, that maintained them, that put them into action and kept them going. The more I research these things, the more I'm just like, there are so many stories you can tell. I mean, the Battle of Britain's kind of a hobby unto itself, really. It's just a self-contained thing that you can really get into. And that's the thing that I've really enjoyed is, I didn't know much about it, before I started this. And now I've got piles of books behind me on the shelf, and this whole community I found of people who'll be like, oh, did you know, this pilot did this? And I'm like, oh God, that would make such a good diorama. Like the Hurricane pilot. Does anyone know who rammed the Dornier 17 as it was on its way to bomb Buckingham Palace? True story. Yeah,
I've heard about that. I don't remember the name of the pilot.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I mean, what a diorama that would make, for anyone looking for a scale model world entry in 144. When we've got a Hurricane and a Dornier 17, just snipping its tail straight off. Just unbelievable stories.
I went to an auction once, and I wet my pants. This book here, I've got the whole selection now, came up for auction, and there's some amazing stories in here. Bomber command losses, it goes through the losses and the reports, it's a really, I've got all the volumes, there's loads of volumes, so I was able to pick them up for about 250 quid. But there's some amazing stories in here just by the reports of people that have lost their lives at Bomber Command. And when you get into the history of it all, you just get so sucked in, and you think, you could do a diorama of that particular incident and stuff, because it is so well reported in here. I know it's like little blocks, but they really do. The Halifax 2 Liberator, Stirling, Manchester. You can go through. It's an incredible book. It's a sad book, don't get me wrong, but I knew that they were out there, but I've never seen them for sale. So, I've got my copy now, and it's a really good thing too. But honestly, it's lots of people are commenting, by the way, in the comments.
I saw somebody saying thank you for or rather, he liked the attitude of us
of Will,
improving things. I thank you. Who was it? I'll scroll back up. I appreciate that. Like I said, we do our best to be open and transparent with the development, because ultimately, Brian and I are modelers. We're just like the rest of the community. We've just taken the leap of actually making kits.
Just a suggestion, Will. 1/76 scale for the Tilly, you'll make a lot of railway modelers happy.
Yeah,
People have been asking us about that. It would be ever so slightly smaller. It's almost indistinguishable, really.
Yeah.
And also 148 scale for the N gauge people. They've got a lot of stuff. I suppose when you get down to that scale, the difference of what is it, 2%, if that, between 144 and 148, it's hardly anything. But they've has been interested in that.
I've had some really nice comments. We had one. Alt 92 is ordered. Put an order in. I like the Tilly and 1/72 as well. Jacob, man, I might have to venture into the 144 scale now. Those kits look amazing. I'll have to pick one up. Cannot wait for future releases. Wayne's Welly again. Some cool effects, and they could do one of a mid-air battle with the spit exactly. Yep. And then Oaks just said, website is struggling now, by the way.
That doesn't surprise me. The server's a bit rickety. We might have to migrate it at some point. It's probably I dare not look at the analytics. So hopefully it's still working for you guys. But thank you for visiting. I really appreciate it.
Have you got like one of those eBay chings when you sell something? Have you got that on the website? So when somebody buys something, you hear a ching. Oh,
I now regret not setting that up. Or at least a buzz on my phone would have been nice.
Black Rifle Model Works is in the chat. Nice to see you, my friend. I've been exploring 144 as a scale recently, and perhaps be placing an order for some of your stuff very soon.
Fantastic.
Obviously, I took a risk and I asked Will to come on, but I'm sure Black Rifle, if you want him on your channel, he'll be glad to come on and have a chat with your subscribers as well, my friend.
Anytime.
Because all this is about is trying to boost the presence of Beacon. Nice thing about 144 is his scale to Gundam.
Yeah. We've got a guy at my IPMS club in Coventry who builds amazing Gundams, and it's always nice. You've got all these, you've got the stuff that you expect at an IPMS club, and then you've got this whacking great mecha robot with guns coming out of every corner of it. It's a nice change. I like that. I like Gundam.
Yeah. It escapes me. He was part of the King's flight at the end of the War. Okay, the war. Yeah, I should have said that, but I was just making Dan Usher know that he spelled it wrong. We've got Celtic West in the chat. Hi, Neil. Nice to see you, my friend. RAF BC is very unappreciated for their efforts during the Battle of Britain.
Bomber Command. Yeah, there were. That's something I'm currently starting to look at because I'm thinking ahead to doing heavy bombers and things like that. We would have started with a Lancaster or something. It's just the cost of the tooling at the time. The 4-engine bombers is a big old tool so it would have cost a lot of money. So it's something I can't wait to get to. But you've got a lot of Wellington squadrons, Whitley squadrons, Hamptons, Beauforts. These very much unsung Bomber Command heroes, and Bomber Command's fairly unsung a lot of the time, I would say, compared to Fighter Command. And some really, really interesting stories. I was actually just looking through my Audible library because I listened to a book recently. For anyone who wants a number of historical short stories, or it's almost biographies from the Battle of Britain. So it's called Battle of Britain by Simon Pearson.
Brilliant.
Do you know it? Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I've got it on Audible.
Yeah, because it's
phenomenal.
It's what is it, like 18 aircraft.
Yeah.
And 18 crews or pilots that flew them, and a story from each. So you've got the Supermarine Walrus is the one that stuck with me. I say it stuck with me. I can't remember the chap's name, and I had to look it up. But he was a member of the Fleet Air Arm, wasn't he, Moz? I think.
Yeah.
And he was watching all of these Spitfires and Hurricanes and all of the Luftwaffe aircraft going down in the Channel, and we were losing so many pilots. And he went to his CO and said, can I have an old Supermarine Walrus, and I'll just sit off the Isle of Wight, wait until I see someone crash, and then fly over and pick them up. And that's exactly what he did by himself for about a month in September, I believe it was. And I think he rescued 35 or more pilots. Just literally, they just sit there and at the crack of dawn, wait for the action overhead to heat up, and then just go and pick up pilots as they came down. And of course, later you had the RAF rescue launches and the HSLs, that kind of thing. They got their act together later on, but we were losing so many pilots, and that individual story of heroism, that's the kind of thing I'd love to be able to tell that story as a model.
Yeah, he was linked because I was listening to a lot of John Nicol with the Spitfire book, and then the Tornado, I think it was, and Lancaster. That's a good one. John Nichol's Lancaster book, phenomenal on Audible. And then as I read them all, that title came up, so I bought that as a free, because I get one a month for free. Or I don't really. I pay $7.99 for the subscription. But I got it. It was it's a really good. But I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through. But so I don't listen to Audibles. I used to drive a lot, but now I don't. So I just But Audible is a phenomenal book to get hold of and I'm into. Kevin M said, "Could you do the famous Mackenzie Knock Hurricane and the ME 109?"
Oh, good question. I'm not familiar with that story, but I will make a note of it. There will be a hurricane if all goes well, which it seems to be going so far. I don't know when it'll be. I think that it's difficult to decide which models we should do next. Now that we've built the whole system of Beacon, essentially, we've got a shop that works, we've got shipping that works. That's what's actually been difficult, is building the whole process of being able to make and sell models. That was, designing a model was kind of the easy part, to be honest. It's building a business around it. But now that's all done, and it's spent the summer proving itself and me getting used to it and, dealing with customer service and all that stuff, which I really enjoy, to be fair, speaking to you guys. And even when it's like, where's my package? You're always so nice about it, which is, how many retail workers can say that, But yeah, there has to be a hurricane. It's got to be done. It is, in fairness, it is really the hero of the Battle of Britain. Most of the victories in the air with a hurricane. It's in the public consciousness. I don't think it has the rightful place that it deserves. And I think if we can do something about that, even in our own tiny way, I'd love to. So yeah, the Mackenzie Knock Hurricane, I will definitely make a note of and look into. It sounds like it's a good story there.
James May always reckoned the Hurricane over the Spitfire.
It was a more stable gun platform.
Built up the road from here.
So you've answered that question. There is scope for 144 bombers, and like I said, people knock 144. But if you want to build like the Concorde, or you want to do a civilian jet, commercial, it's all 144. And it's. I understand when it comes to brass tacks, wheels are smaller and everything, and sometimes. The undercarriage isn't as strong. I get all the warms of the 144, but to bring out, and also they're easy to build. To be fair, it's all, it's good to go down that road. Spur and glue question, which is good. So if you put question in, I can read them off quicker. So if you put question in here, which I've asked before, you viewers, I can find them out quicker. Are you considering other genres?
So when you say genres, I'll answer this question in two parts, just in case, depending on what the question exactly meant. Yeah. If you mean, will we do aircraft beyond the Battle of Britain? Absolutely, yes. What I would really like to do is to create essentially historically themed ranges of 144 aircraft for people to build and collect and learn about that period of history. So, for example, I'd really like to do a Falkland Islands collection, like a Sea Harrier, Ficara, Mirage, and all that Chinook, that kind of thing. That'd be amazing. I'd love to do that. I think that would get a lot of people excited. If you mean, are we going to do things like ships or tanks or stuff like that? I'd never say never. I don't know what the future of Beacon holds in terms of its size or scope. I think we've hit on something quite special and unique with our sort of crowdfunding strategy and engaging with the community. I think it has the potential to grow. I'd certainly love to see it grow. So yeah, that's a possibility. But for now, our focus is going to be 144 aircraft for the foreseeable future. There's a lot to do there, and a lot of good bread and butter subjects to cover, and some oddballs as well.
The German bombers are on their to-do list. Yeah, you said that. It's going through. Kevin says, thanks for that, fella. Good. Hampdons, Wellingtons. I can do that.
Yeah. I've got a big list of RAF bombers. The Wellington's probably one of my favorites. I always liked it.
But 6 weeks to go from design to where you were, that's an incredible feat.
That's it is, isn't it? There's, to be honest, when you compare the 144 Spitfire to, let me know in the chat, have any of you owned or built the Border Lancaster? Because that was Brian's work. He spent 3 years of his life, 3 solid years designing that beast. And I suppose when you've come out of doing a project like that, you do a little 144 spider in your sleep.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a shame Nigel isn't here because he's somebody who went on about the.
Nigel will be squeaking about now.
Yeah, he sometimes pops onto this chat. Like he would have had a few questions if your friend was here. Like
Yeah.
it's because even to the point they've just released it as just the cockpit, haven't they?
Just the nose section. Yeah, and that's a beautiful kit unto itself. If you haven't got space or was it about $800 now for a Border Lancaster? It's a lot. But the nose section is still a really nice kit. I would definitely recommend picking one of those up if you can get it. But I'm just so glad that tool saw the light of day. I mean, Brian was, I think he was very philosophical about it and just said, I've left the company. I don't know what's happening with it. I'm just going to move on. But I was thinking, but that is probably one of the finest model kits that's ever been produced in the history of scale modeling. If it didn't come out, it was gutting. So I was really relieved when the tool was acquired and that was released. So yeah, definitely.
It's strange, really, that he was asking a scale model show if there's any work out there. You would have thought somebody like Airfix or Revell or somebody would have snapped up that talent so quick. But
it's strange that I think they have a talent pool that they've worked with for a long time. Like I know some of the Airfix chaps, not terribly well, but I've met them at Scale Model World. Really lovely bunch. I've said hello to Matt and Paranjit and the others. And I think they're going to work with Airfix for a long time. They're a very, very effective team. I think there's not a lot of churn in the industry, if you know what I mean. People don't really come and go from design studios. They join and then they stay there because it's probably it's a really good job. So yeah, I was a bit surprised he struggled to find something else, but then he's in New Zealand, and at the time remote working wasn't really as common as it is now. But I believe he now is a writer for the New Zealand version of Which magazine, so he really enjoys that. So he reviews consumer goods, writes about it, and he's really taken to that. But yeah, we still talk all the time. I let him know how Beacon's going, and we discuss plans for the future. He's just probably at work right now, otherwise I'm sure he'd have liked to have joined us.
Yeah. So this isn't a full-time job for you at the moment. It's more of a part-time.
Definitely part-time. It'll be a long time until it's full-time. So yeah, I just do it as and when I can, which is sadly why progress is a bit slower than I would like. But like you were saying in the very beginning, the reason we pulled out Scale Model World is just a result of us thinking, me thinking, I have to focus my time and my energy and the budget of the company. And as much as I love Scale Model World as an event, and I will be there, preparing to do it would have taken so much time away from developing this next Kickstarter and developing future products that that's where the business is going to grow, is by making new stuff and putting it out there.
Yeah, fair enough. As I said, building a business is the hardest thing. It really is. But there is I think Matt will agree with me. It's that step from coming away from a full-time employment or a regular income to do what you love you've got to put the cards in order, haven't you, Matt?
Definitely. It's really hard going from having something which is your status quo to then having a period of not knowing what you're doing. Something's changing, but you haven't quite put into place what the change actually is. So it's just getting past that hurdle, I think.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, very much so.
There was a defined point where it becomes possible, but we're just not there yet. I think we won't be there until we've done these first 10, for example.
Yeah, and also you've got to remember that Scale Model World is a national event in this country. I think, in all fairness, I think YouTubers, internet, social media will put you out there into the other countries as well. So people start to, and you're also on ScaleMates now anyway. So you have the battles already done, isn't it? When you're known on ScaleMates, that's pretty much there, isn't it?
I think our entries on ScaleMates are a little bit of a mess. There's a lot of stuff that's maybe a bit defunct. I have to go in there and have a look at it. I have no idea how to tidy up ScaleMates. So perhaps somebody who's more au fait with that than I am can go in and update things to what it currently is, because there's old box art on there, old concept boxes and things like that. So just from the very, very early days.
Yeah, I get that. Celtic West, when you were done with Bomber Command, you might want to do a Coastal Command.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If I had my pick, I'd do a Sunderland today.
Yeah.
I want a short Sunderland in 144 scale. That's going to be my present to myself when the business has taken off and is doing well. But then so everybody loves the Sunderland.
Catalina would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got? The Fairy Battle, the Rock
17
Skewer.
B-17 was used by Coastal Command.
The what? Sorry.
The B-17 was used by
B-17. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Good point. Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
So was a Wellington.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bowfighter?
Yeah.
Yes, the Bowfighter was in the Battle of Britain.
Very
late on.
Very end, yeah. That was John Cunningham, was it? Cat's Eyes Cunningham? He flew the Bowfighter, didn't he?
Yeah. He did. I think you're right. That rings a
That's
bell.
where the carrots myth came from. Because they had the early radar systems on night fighters, but they put it out there that British fighter pilots or night fighter pilots were eating a lot of carrots, and it gave them good night vision.
Here is a question: or any chance of seeing a US distributor? Right now, the shipping is kind of nuts to US.
Yeah. The problem is distributors are a bit tricky. There are issues with the pricing and the margin that we basically can't sell to wholesalers. It's just not possible at the moment. But we're always looking for retailers. If you have a favorite online hobby retailer that you use in the US, let us know. Or better still, show them our stuff, and we'd love to hear from them. We're always happy to stock retailers, because you're right, the shipping across the pond is a bit pricey. We've got it as low as we can. We could offer economy shipping, which is untracked, but some of you may remember when we first shipped the very first pre-orders. Do you remember that absolute catastrophe with the Royal Mail hack? Anyone remember that?
Yeah, I was part of it, yeah.
We lost probably a quarter of the orders that were sent to the US. We had to replace them and send them out again. And we had no way to tell where they were because they were all sent untracked, which had been reliable for 15 years of using it. Before that, it was always in America within 5 to 7 to 10 days. And then all of a sudden, I had loads of American customers in my email saying, where is it? It's been 8 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, good question. I have no idea. So yeah, from a customer services perspective, it's just like, right, everything has to go tracked from now on. And that unfortunately means, it is a bit more expensive. So yeah, if you know a retailer, let them know about us and we'd love to hear from them.
Fantastic. Man's Model Moments has put his hat in the ring. Any plans for trade accounts, Will? Would love to stock them in the shop. Well, if you had bought during Kickstarter, they did, me and my business partner were tempted on investing 50,000 and getting
the shop then.
In. But we had to pull out in the end because we had other things we had to buy for our own business. But it would be good if you could do that for him, Alex, so you have models in his shop.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, our business is built around a direct sales model. We sell a lot directly to customers, but we absolutely have no problem with retailers in all territories taking the kits if they want, because a lot of retailers do things like going to more shows than we do, so there's definitely opportunities there. Always happy to hear from people and work with them. Frome Model Center, or Froome, is it? How do you pronounce it? They have taken stock for Scale Model World, so our stuff will be on sale at Scale Model World on the Froome stand. Luke really came through for us on that. He said, you guys should have some presence there. We'll take them. So that was really good of them. That was excellent.
Wayne Welly, just to poke the bear, will there be a bit of sale?
I think there's quite a few business. I don't know if we could top some of the offerings out there.
Yeah, we're not at 144.
Actually, I think
that would be big.
I think fleet scales still make. I think you can get one in 144 scale. It's like a GRP molded hull with white metal fittings. It's a very old kit, but it's very good. It was from my days of radio controlled boat modeling. They are out there in 144, but they are beasts.
A-Sheep, I love my beacon kits. I'm just finishing up my third kit in a crash diorama.
Sheepy, yep, regular on the Discord. Hi, mate. How you doing?
I promise you, I never asked Phil this, but A 144 Bearcat.
Yeah, I mean, no reason why not. What sort of theatre would that fit in on? I'm actually not that great with
Korea.
It
Korea,
was,
Bottom
yeah,
of the sea.
yeah, just after it came out. So I've just finished my 148 Bearcat, which
Yeah.
I love it. People think I'm nuts, but when you go to Cosford,
Yeah,
not Cosford, it's Cosford, isn't
Duxford.
it? Duxford,
Duxford.
sorry. And you hear it fly by you, and the hairs on the back of your neck don't go up on end, then you're dead. It sounds, and even the pilot, out of all the American aircraft he can fly, his favorite is the Bearcat. It is a delight, and nobody does it really well. Hobby Boss, Revell do a monogram version, or a Hawk. You've got Signum, who've got the Hawk version, which is like a 1960s tooling.
Yeah.
Hobby Boss have brought out 172 scale easy assembly kit, which is pretty good. This is their 148, and it's all right. But for somebody to bring out a Bearcat, which even in 144 scale would be a bit small, but to get it looking good, it won't take a lot. But as I said, these are the sort of things that become, because I say one of the questions was why 144, but then again, what you've done with 144, I think you've answered the question, because it's not been done properly for years.
Yeah, you can't. What I've learned, well, the hunch I had, and has since I think been validated, is you can't just do random airdropped kits like in 172nd and 148th where there's a gap, and nobody's done a particular Wessex variant since the 70s. Oh, let's do one and we'll sell 3,000. That works if you're in 148 scale, but in 144 scale, it seems like people want collections. They want to be able to build 5, 6, 7, 8 from a particular period, and if they can do that, the more you have in a range, the more people will be excited about it. So at the moment, we've only got the 2 kits. I mean, technically, it's 8 variants of aircraft, which gives you some scope for replayability, if you like. But I think that although we've got loads of early adopters who are really interested, which is amazing. I'm continually surprised at how many people are coming in and really keen, even though we've only got 2 kits. As that range grows, I think more people will get interested and adopt the scale. That seems to be every indication I'm getting says that. So it's like people saying you're going to do a bomber command collection, you're going to do a Wellington and a Hamilton and things like that. So that's the way to go. So like you're saying, Korea. Well, what would your top 4 Korean War aircraft be? I'd be interested.
Yeah,
Sea Fury,
Sea Fury MiG-17,
Fly Mark 5.
There you go. So you've got an interesting mix of piston and jets there as well.
Yeah, can't forget the Corsair.
Yeah.
Well, with there's too many Corsairs, just Bearcat, please. Just going to. We just quickly. Hiya, Modelling Weekly. Nice of you getting. Hope University or whatever is doing well for you. UNH question: could there be any ideas for a lineup of certain marks as a set, like 5 aircraft, for example? Orca P1127, Kestrel Harrier GR1, T2. Well, I think the scope's there. Yeah, I think you've found your own niche, which is quite. What I want to just point out is that you've gone down this route with a 144 scale. You said, right, we're going to build models in this particular scale. But you've got other wing guys with Qatari who said we're going to build a 132nd Spitfire. I think they missed a trick. They've bought their Spitfire. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful kit.
It's really well done.
But when I go around scale model shows, I think I can count on my hands how many I've seen built. Do you know what I mean? If you go around, I know it's a big plane, but I've not seen many Qatari Spitfires built. I think they went 132nd. They should have gone back to basics. And like a 172 or 148. I think I'd be more in the price range with people. But 144, but you've gone down this route, and 20 quid for 2 kits, decal sheet, and a masking set. That's a bloody bargain, really.
And that's the premium one as well, because what we're going to do with these next kits, or the variant single bags, is that we want something as kind of like a taster product for someone who's like, well, I've never built a 144 scale kit. I might not like it, so I don't want to spend too much money on it. So the next ones are going to be one aircraft in a bag. It won't come with masks, and it'll come. We're going to get Edward to do the decals for us. They've offered, and they're very good quality. They're not cartographed, but they're up there. They're good. And if all of that comes together, my aim is to be able to sell a single one for under a tenner. I think that would be a good offering, especially in the climate we're currently in, where hobby budgets are being really stretched. So yeah, I mean, you can spend £8 or £9. You've got a weekend's worth of hobby building and enjoyment there. I think that's really, we want to focus on value there, and these sort of hours of fun per dollar or pound, I think is the key thing. And then that's a difficult proposition when you're doing a very high end, larger scale kit. It's harder to find that mark, I think.
Black Rifle Model Works has dipped his hat again and said US retailer that I think will be very interested in stocking beacon models is Brett at High Altitude Hobbies.
Oh, cool.
So if you want to get in contact with him, I think High Altitude Hobbies is actually stocking the Outlaw paints as well. Isn't that right, Alec?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they're stocking the paint. So yeah, we could do something there. Are Will and the guys consider an option decals for maybe diorama purposes? I'd really like to see Float Lieutenant, Brendan, Paddy, whoever, Mark II kite in a 144.
Yes, definitely. One of the products I want to develop is an improved set of generic decals. We've got one at the moment, which is that will cover probably January to September Spitfires. So it's got all the various different shapes and sizes of roundels, squadron codes, and it's got Jägerschwader 2 or 3 markings on it. That's been quite popular. So I think that something like a Mark II Spitfire is kind of easier in that respect, because by October, November, when you started to see, I think it was then that the Mark II started to come out of the factories, the marking schemes for Spitfires was a lot more standardized than it was in, say, June, where they were all over the place, all different sizes of roundels. So in a way, something like a Mark II, you could do a set of generic decals for a Mark II, and you could just literally, if you know the serial number and the squadron code, you just pick it off the decal sheet, put it on, and there you've got the aircraft that you want to tell the story of. And I definitely would like to do that, because customizability is clearly a massive thing for you guys, which is why it's so important for me to come on and talk to hobbyists, both in podcasts, on Discord, on Facebook, on Instagram. I spend so much time just chatting to people, getting to know what they want and what makes them excited. A lot of them never done 144 scale before, and seeing them take an interest is great. We just get so many ideas about what you guys want to see and what your priorities are. So yeah, storytelling, diorama, accessories, that's going to be a big one for us. Big.
The Flying Dutchman, Dave, just said, if it all ends well, Beacon can be the BOB 144 brand. Yeah, and I think, I think that's the way it should be. Just going down through, I get that. Oh, yeah. It is a very, very good Mark 1, that Qatari, but it's a Revel 1 by scale by Fairmark. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I just think that you've got to pick the basket to lay your eggs. And sometimes, was the market really crying out for 132nd? Where Will here has gone out and said, is the market really crying out for 144? He's dipped his toe in the water and then realised actually there is a place for it. And they are pretty simple builds, but you're getting really good detail with that as well. So and Jeff just says, great, thanks for answering Will on that one. A lot of people saying, question, Will, how about a box set of British experimental jet aircraft from
that right there is just that's got unique Kickstarter written all over it. Like if where we know we've got the supply chain worked out, we know that as long as the Kickstarter or crowdfunding funds, we can do it. Down the line, I can just literally float the idea of, hey, how about we do 4 experimental British jet aircraft? I'm living in Coventry, so I've got the Sir Frank Whittle Jet Centre down the road from me at the Air Museum. That's where my IPMS club meets, actually. That's the sort of thing I'd love to do, because again, you're building while learning, and that's something that I almost feel like a lot of people haven't had that experience, which surprised me. We've all built models, but I feel like we often miss out on the context of them a lot of the time, which I still, it baffles me, because, you know, when you're immersed with models, but you've never really connected on that deep level with them. Whereas if you build 4 of those aircraft and you're reading, you know, perhaps we put a booklet or a nice presentation of the history that's digestible, like a magazine or something, you know, there's all kinds of ways we can do that. Actually, that's one of the reasons we'd like to partner with some of the historical YouTubers and do like collabs on, we're going to, you know, Marcel Matt is going to build this Spitfire, and hear as the Northern Historian, I really like his videos. I'd really love to do like a half model building, half history video where people collaborate and do that. And so a collection like that, where, you know, you've got a really unique piece of history of the birth of the jet fighter, and you know, early British RAF jets and things like, you know, even like things like the Avro Arrow. You know, Canadians all want that, so that's got to be done at some point. There's no end of scope, and we're always looking for collection ideas to put on our vision board.
Not being funny, they said, someone in the chat said about the P1127. They had all 6 prototypes were different.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, and even like someone mentioned the various Harrier incarnations.
Yeah,
radically different between each one. They need their own tooling. But wouldn't it be cool to be able to do that? To have enough people in the community to be able to come together and just say, "Yeah, I want that," and make that happen all together. You know, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I think as I said, I think you've hit a little bit of what's it called? A little bit of an oil string there, you know. And the people in the chat are actually, you know, once you build it, because I'm going to build mine probably next week. Because I'll only take you to build yours, Matt. A couple of hours to actually build it.
Sorry, I was muted then. The 109?
Yeah, on the Spitfire that you did.
I've not done a Spitfire yet.
Oh, it was the BF 109 you did.
Yeah, it was the 109 I did. So that was like maybe 2 days, but that's because I did it over 2 days. I mean, if I did it like in a day, you could do it in a day. Definitely, it's not a big kit.
That's painting it as well, yeah.
And I painted it by hand, which I think is always quicker than doing it with an airbrush.
Do you? You don't do the airbrushing right then, do you?
It's just cleaning in between that I hate. That's where the time goes.
Do you know? I just blow it a little bit of IPA, blow it through onto the next one, and if you're using lacquers, it dries quick as anything anyway. I did that. I did the Bearcat in a couple of hours. You know, it just dries quick anyway. 1 hour challenge, yeah, definitely a 1 hour challenge on that one.
That would be cool. I'd love to see that.
Black Rifle. The reason I would be exploring 144 scale is to model in-flight dioramas, as it's something not seen a lot.
Yeah,
scale is perfect for it. Currently doing a bear being escorted by typhoons.
Oh, show me that when it's done. I want to feature that on our social media, because that's the thing. We feature everyone's builds, no matter what brand it's from. It's as much about the community as it is about our stuff. And like, the bear with typhoons. So I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And also just in-flight dioramas. One thing to notice, I think, we haven't mentioned about these kits, is that you can model them with a gear up or gear down configuration. And we also put in a flight spinner as well. So you've got your spinner and your propeller, but there's also just a blank spinner that's almost like as if it's spinning. You can put a clear disc behind it or a photo etch prop if you want. But it was very much designed with the idea that some of these are going to be modeled in flight. So you've got that option with all of them, and all the variant propellers as well. We haven't left anything out.
It doesn't come with a pilot.
Very not.
You wouldn't see the pilot anyway in a diorama.
Well,
anyway,
there aren't many 144 that have pilots in them.
It's anyway, over to the panel now. Have you folks got any questions that you like to ask? Go on then, crack on then, John. But I'm going to set you for 2 minutes, all right?
Yeah, it's not going to take 2 minutes. You were mentioning earlier about a pamphlet for the British experimental jets. Would you consider doing a publication that would go with every model collection you release?
If I could find people to help me with that, which I know if I looked I could, I would be delighted to do that. I know Pavel Biranek very well, who is he started Plastic Invasion. That's his startup. He did a Kickstarter which successfully funded. He did an absolutely beautiful book on painting German camouflage from World War II. It is probably the finest book on modeling I've ever seen. You know, the production value is out of this world. I'm slowly working on convincing him to do something with us in that regard. Even just things like Spitfires.
I wasn't thinking about the modelling industry. I was thinking more about describing the history of each individual aircraft in the collection, and then a few of the stories from the flyers who flew them.
I think that would be great.
I think a lot of people who built the collection as a whole would be interested in that type of book. You know,
I agree. Yeah, almost like a. Well, what the vision I had was kind of like a coffee table book that was like history as told through these 144 models of the different aircraft, the different pilots. So it's almost it's illustrated by models, or partly illustrated by models, and then you've obviously got historical photos. Like one of the chaps I've gotten to know quite well in the community is Ben Ballister, who's Small Scale History on Instagram, and he does very, very heavy conversions of all of these different 144 aircraft. He only models in 144, and he took a photo of an Emil on the back of a Mammoth truck and scratch built the truck and then put our 109 on the back of it. And just, what a moment in time that is. And there's a whole story behind that. And I was thinking that photograph belongs on a page in a beautifully produced book as part of, a historical telling of the period. I think people would like that. And it's something I'd be very interested in doing if we can ever get to the point of being able to project manage something like that. That's, publishing is a big thing. It's a lot of work.
It's interesting that you've gone down the alley of producing collections, because I've never seen it from companies before. It's a fantastic idea. There's people around to look for that type of thing. I remember going to a model show once, and somebody was asking me, does anybody do a Royal Naval version of a Skyraider in 48th? And I racked my brains, I couldn't think of one, but he had every other aircraft the Royal Navy used on his tabletop. He couldn't get a Skyraider.
It's strange that no one does it, because I'm from a tabletop miniatures background. For those of you who might be familiar with Flames of War, Team Yankee, probably it's got to be nearly 60 of those kits now are ones that I designed. So I'm very used to thinking in terms of collections. It's like when Games Workshop do an army release, they don't just do one box of figures, they do the whole thing. When they do a Space Marine release, it'll be 5 new units, a couple of heavies, and I'm very much used to thinking in those terms because it's what I've always done professionally. And it just makes sense to me, because it's, if you release a whole bunch of complementary products in rapid succession, it's just better for sales and it's better for the customer. There's more for the customer to get their teeth into, and it's just more reliable in terms of sales performance as well. So it baffles me why that's not more of a common thing in the scale models industry. But I guess everyone does things differently.
Why 144?
I think about this a lot. Originally, my thinking was that it was shelf friendly. Like you said, you got that big sort of fun per pound hours, whatever. Not too time intensive. So almost like as a convenience scale was what I had it as a hunch originally. But it's grown way beyond that. It's clear that people feel more able to express something that they've got in their head through that small scale. Although there are people that, they like how it's a weekend scale, they can do a nice Spitfire, and it doesn't take up a massive amount of space. You can have some on your desk. I know Ben has a load of his vignettes sort of on in his house, basically as decor, because it's not too intrusive. Originally I thought it was just, it was time friendly, space friendly, budget friendly, and those things are true. But I think what seems to attract people most, having talked to a lot of hobbyists, is there is that narrative angle that people seem to be really interested in. So, using the model to tell a story, which it's not like it doesn't happen in other scales, but I think when you think of like a 1/32 scale diorama, that's a hell of a project. You've got a lot of time planning that out. There's all kinds of resin accessories you're going to have to buy at great expense. There's a lot of scenics work, and it's going to take you a lot of hours. Whereas you can do a nice 1/44 scale vignette that tells a really compelling story in a very vibrant way, but in a minimal space and time constraint. And there's also, it's like people send me that I just think they're neat meme on Discord, like with Marge Simpson holding a Spitfire. I just think they're neat. And that's just sort of a je ne sais quoi about it. It's sort of an X factor that no one can really explain. There's just something cool about Tiny, apparently. So,
yeah. No, I just was because like me and Matt last couple of months, I've been taken by Tamiya's 1-100 scale. Matt's just built the Lightning to gain his E Lightning patch off me because I do a challenge. There's a couple of challenges on my channel at the moment. I've got the Concord and I've got the E Lightning. But when you actually look out there, 1-100 scale is quite popular of yesteryear because Tamiya brought out 1-100. These mini kits from Airfix, they're really they're pre-painted basically, but they're 1-100 scale. And actually, when you put them together, they're very simple to build. I know they're pre-painted, but if they weren't pre-painted, it wouldn't be difficult to paint one up ready, if you know what I mean. I thought 1-100 scale. Are you going to be aiming just for 1-144? Would you be looking at other scales in the future, like a 1-100 scale, or?
I've done a lot of 1-100 scale kits. That's all those tanks I was mentioning were all it's 15 millimeter tabletop scale, which translates to 1-100, and I really like that. And I've done a couple of aircraft in that scale for those systems. For now, I think that in order to get the foundations of a business that works through the very challenging times we've got ahead of us, all of us in this country, and indeed, the world, really, the global economy is not looking too good. So we have to be quite careful. So for the moment, I'm going to focus on 144 because I think we've got quite a good thing going for it. But it may well be that we get to the point where we think, well, let's do something a bit out of the ordinary. Let's pick something cool in a different scale and just get it done. And if people like the idea, well, we know how to test that now. And, the people have spoken. They want this kit. I actually, many years ago, I spoke to BAE Systems and came to an arrangement with them whereby they gave me permission and the materials I needed to do the Queen Elizabeth aircraft carriers. I still have, as far as I know, that's still valid. I'd have to check in with them again because it's been a long time since I spoke to them. But I thought, how cool would it be to do, 1-700 scale Queen Elizabeth, or even 1-350, an absolute beast of a thing. Something like that, just out of the blue. If we had the capacity and everything else was going well, why not? I think that'd be really fun. I mean, I'm just like you guys. I'll model anything that's cool and I'll design it if I think it'll do well by business.
There's a lot of people who want that Queen Elizabeth. And we've even heard it on Airfix's YouTube channel that one kit that Pramajit would love to design is that Queen Elizabeth. I think that's what
he do a great job of it, in fairness. In some ways, I almost hope Airfix will do it just so I can build it.
And put it right because you've got it all there,
it was. They were really nice to deal with. BAE Systems. They're very pro modeler, which is always refreshing. A lot of defense companies are actually, because it's kind of good PR for them, to be honest. In a sea of what can often be quite bad PR, waste of taxpayers' money, or why don't we have any aircraft on the aircraft carriers? There's a lot of doom and gloom around defense subjects. The Astute crashed. Whereas someone comes along and says, oh, somebody's just made this beautiful model of something we can all be a bit proud of, I think that's nice, and they certainly seem to share that sentiment.
Well, I know Airfix used to come into BA Dunsfold quite often.
They
measure up a Harrier, occasionally measure up a Harrier.
I think they've got a more of a close relationship with them, having done the Lightning and the Type 45. They did do a 1-350 scale model, but I don't think it was ever developed as a kit. I think it was just a model that they did. I saw it at Scale Model World once or twice, but they haven't pursued it thus far. I certainly, at the moment, it wouldn't be an intention of mine to go forward with that particular. Not when there's just so much groundwork to be laid for the Beacon 144 scale range. But I mean, part of the problem of growing the company, I think, is going to be finding the design talent, because there are lots of CAD operators out there, but there aren't many CAD operators who are interested enough in these subjects to understand the fine detail of them and what you need to do, what you need to know to be able to design an effective model kit. So I think I almost might have to sort of take people and train them up, really, coming out of university or something like that. I think Airfix hires quite a few graduates from what I've seen. They seem to do a really good job. sort of molding them into very, very capable designers. They've obviously got a very good system in place, good mentors. That's really important.
Yeah, the background's there, isn't it? With as I said, Pramajit, if he did do that Queen Elizabeth, which is what because he is a boat builder,
He said,
he loves doing them, and but I don't think they're willing to push that amount of resources to it. There's so many other. The thing about Airfix is, I think they've got the vision right in the sense of they realise there's certain tools that they have to retool. And there's also those subjects that haven't really been tackled yet, and they want to really push those newer subjects. They've just really, it'd be interesting to see how well like the Great Westerns sold, things like that. Because when I go to scale model shows, there's the table of boats, and that's it. You don't see a plethora. It's all mostly tanks and planes.
Yeah,
boats seem to be a specific market in themselves. Same as
bottom, I think aircraft is the biggest by far.
Yeah.
Then armor, then ships, then everything else like motorsport, that kind of thing. So I mean, I'm a ship guy. Really, that's if I was to pick, if someone held a gun to my head and say, pick a subject matter you're only ever going to model again for the rest of your life, I'd probably pick boats, to be honest. Especially things like tall ships. I love sailing ships. Age of Sail, Napoleonic stuff. I really love that. One of these days, I'm going to find 1 to 100 scale Hella HMS Victory, and say that's going to be my retirement model.
Yeah, there's a few of them. The big like the Yamato, that big Yamato in it. That's a huge hit from Trumpeter. So, I think. But I think you've got a pretty good strategy with the beacon models. As I said, I've got money. I need to build it at some point. I've linked into the chat your website, so I've pinned it to the top. So if anybody here wants to go and have a look at Beacon Models website, have a look.
And if it's crashed, just try it again another time.
Yeah.
The server is a bit rickety, I think.
You were saying that you work for another company. Was that 3D resin models you said?
Well, I've been a freelance designer for most of my career, so I've worked with lots of different names. Most of the work I've done has been with Battlefront miniatures over the years, so Flames of War. But I've also worked with a number of commercial model makers. So they'll do things like aerospace models. Like one of the coolest things I get to do is there's a couple of clients I have whereby there might be like a defense expo in like Bahrain or something, and they're taking the new tank out there, or they're trying to get a contract for like labs or something, heavy armor. They can't take a lot of the weapon systems like the Bushmaster 30mm. You can't ship one of those to a show like that. So they'll actually build a dummy and like a 1-to-1 scale model of the weapon system, put that on. So I've done things like that before, and that's been really cool. I mean, I've done the CAD design, and then it's gone to the company who's got a team of model makers who'll actually take my data, 3D print bits, mill bits, and then put it together, paint it, and put it on this whacking great armored vehicle to go off to a show. And that's a completely different style of work in a way, and it's really cool to do. So I've had a lot of variety really in my career. I've been really lucky. The fact that there is so much work out there for someone who knows these vehicles and can model them in CAD. It does get a bit feast and famine at times, so you definitely have to put money away when the times are good.
Did you design the Russian hovercraft?
Oh yeah, that was years ago. That was a Guilan kit. Yeah, the Zuber. I think it's the Bison. I think it's the NATO. Yeah. Oh no,
I've never seen it for sale once. I've never seen it for sale.
Yeah, that was.
Are they still available? Are they to buy?
No, I'll 3D print you one if you want, mate. But I haven't got any left as kits. In fact, I think I had a big clear out and threw out most of the photo etch I had because I knew I was never going to produce more of them. But now it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, I've still got the CAD. Like I can stick one on the printer. I can send you the STLs. Yeah, that was only a little thing. It's but it's had a lot of character. It's so different.
700 scale, wasn't it?
Yeah, 700 scale.
Yeah. So I remember.
Yeah, that's it. The Alt 92 with Zuber.
Yeah, but I just you see them on scale mates, and you think, "Cool, that's a good kit," and then you realise that it just doesn't come to fruition. Like you can't buy them no more.
That's the sad thing about resin models. That happens a lot because people do them usually as a side gig, kind of cottage industry thing. They do it for a couple of years, and then life takes its twists and turns, and suddenly you haven't got the time to produce them. Or marketing has been a difficult thing because like now the way that social media algorithms are, you can't just post something and expect 400 people to share it and for it to spread virally. Facebook, or Meta, should I say, very much is very picky about the content that it puts in front of people. So if you're a business who's selling anything really, if you're not doing really effective marketing, running ads, that kind of thing, you're just not going to sell many. And cottage industries do not have the time to learn how to use the Meta Ads Manager. I've been trying to get to grips with it, and I can do it. I'll get more confident with it, but it is really difficult to fit into everything else. So I can sort of see why a lot of small manufacturers are struggling, simply because they post, oh, here guys, my new Spitfire cowling's available, and only 5 people see it, and then none of them buy it. And it's not because their product isn't good, it's just because the market's now owned by a giant corporation that wants you to pay to get your content seen. That's the bottom line.
I struggle. It's like with Twitter. I think they've changed the algorithm from 3 years ago. I've got about 16,000 people following me on Twitter. When I post something, it only gets seen between 100 and 200 people.
Yeah.
But my argument has always been this: if somebody has taken the time to click that box to follow, what right have Facebook got to not show the content that I've asked to follow? And that's the thing that upsets me more. I've seen, I've got Airfix following Airfix on Facebook. Never see their posts. All I ever see is their ads. But I
can click the bell, the subscribe thing. There is a function where you can say show notifications. So if you've got a favorite account and it does annoy you when you don't see their posts, I'll do it another time. But there is an option where it says, you have to opt in now, basically, to see that, and most people don't. It's like on YouTube, you guys have all got your YouTube channels. You're completely used to saying drop us a like and a subscribe. That's totally normal for YouTube, and you've got into the habit of that as content creators, which means more people do it. But on Instagram and Facebook, people don't ask you to do that, so they miss your stuff. And that's why YouTube, as far as I'm concerned, is still like one of the better social media networks for especially for model makers, is because you get a lot of eyes on it. A lot of people enjoy what you're doing, and you put this passion into the videos that you make, and the content does get seen, even though they might not subscribe. You still get a lot of views, whereas you can grind on Meta, and it takes ages to get any traction at all.
Well, that was what I was just about to say. Is like, we the problem is this word subscribe. It is the worst term ever. YouTube needs to get rid of the word subscribe, because when you subscribe to something, you're investing in something. Investment normally means money. So when people subscribe to something, they think, you subscribe to a magazine and it's going to cost you £5 a month. Right. And that's the problem with YouTube. Sorry, I'm going off a bit off track modeling, but because we're talking marketing here, that's the problem with YouTube. They should have had a follow button and a like button, and then when you want to join them and become a member, that's when you subscribe. That's what they should have done. They've got it all ass about face, and same really when you've got Twitter. You can follow a page, but if you want to become a member, they don't use the word subscribe. They've used a different word, but they should have used the word subscribe there. Subscribe's an awful word, really, because it's all about investing in monetary. So they just had it different. Join the channel or subscribe or follow would have been a lot better than this. But when they brought out the bell icon, where you can decide where you have all or what the stuff that YouTube think you may like, or you just want to be a subscriber and not get the notifications. I still don't think everybody gets notifications. I didn't get notification for Alex's shop flood video. It was only until somebody said on our little Discord, "Oh, sorry to hear of your flooding," that I realised that he put a video out on it. So, but having all these social medias, you've got to link them and do as much as you can on Insta.
That is an interesting point you raised there, because you can actually go into your dashboard. This is content creator stuff, and you can see how many notifications have actually been sent to people who turned the notifications on. And quite often, mine's around about 99%. So I'm thinking, where is that other 1%? Now, bearing in mind, on my channel, about 40,000 subscribers, I only have maybe about 1,000 or 2,000 people who've actually got their notifications on. That's why you don't turn on the bell.
Yeah.
But that means that if that's 1%, that's like 100, 200 people who are not actively being sent notifications. And YouTube know about it. They know that they haven't sent those notifications out.
I was just looking on Facebook, Moz. I just went to Airfix's page, and I already liked it, so I clicked on liked, and that brought up another menu, and it says follow settings, and it's got newsfeed, and it says default, favorites, and unfollow. So at the moment it's set to default, and I might see their posts, I might not. If you change that to favorites, then you'll see their posts more often. So if everyone could go to the Beacon Facebook page and do that,
yeah. When
and
is your
Instagram as well? Same settings.
So your next release and timings? Do you want to go into them? When's your next release going to be?
I can certainly try. I had hoped to get something launched in November, but I don't think that's going to happen the way things are now. So I'll let everyone have a lovely Christmas, and then perhaps in the new year, probably sometime in February, I think I'll be back with another Kickstarter campaign for the variants of the 109 and the Spitfire. Now the tools are already made; you've got them in front of you, so we know that it's not going to take long to deliver that. All we have to say is, cartograph, here's the artwork that we want you to make, factory, we need this many shots from each tool. So I reckon I can deliver it in well under 3 months, which would be really refreshing and quick. And once that's done, once we've got that sort of cash in the business, we can move on to investing in things like the Defiant and Ankle 111, or whatever it is we end up doing next. I'd actually be really interested to hear from people, of the Battle of Britain aircraft, which they would like to see next in the release schedule.
Hurricane.
That's an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you've got to do it. You've got to do that Hurricane. That's your next port of call, I think. If you get that Hurricane,
a Hurricane with a well-known pilot.
With a well-known pilot in
Kickstarter.
Did you ever find out why? Did you ever find out why the Kickstarter failed? You had mentioned something about not being seen enough. Can you go through that a little bit? Yeah.
To be honest, I think we just asked for too much. It's not because we were being greedy. It's just that the quotes we were getting from tool makers were pretty high, and we thought, well, we're going to need 40k to make 3 tools, because we've got the Spitfire tool, the 109 tool, and the glazing tool. That's 3 steel tools. That's not a small amount of tooling. And even the prices we were getting were quite good. It was just really adding up. So I think a new company with what at the time we only had a small following. I think we only had about 1,500 followers across Meta, and maybe 200 or 300 on our mailing list. And now we've got about 6,000 people across Meta, and we're in a lot better position. But the fact that we got to 17 or 18, nearly halfway, is really amazing considering how small our audience was back then. And now that our audience is a lot bigger, now obviously the times have changed a little bit. I think that people had a bit more money in their pockets back then, but hopefully next time we'll have an easier time. We'll fund on day one, and we're gonna make sure that the funding is for like just a minimum viable product, i.e. maybe just one, the Spitfire Mark 1A and the 109E for single kits, and it'll be a low funding goal that we know if we hit that, we can get those 2 made, and then as the funding increases, we can make more of the things that we want to make. But ultimately, back then, if we'd spent 6 months throwing a few £1,000s at Meta ads, then we could have built a big enough audience to get that £40,000 that we needed. But obviously we didn't do that. We did quite well, but we didn't end up seeing a penny. But it's the fact that we found a factory who was basically believed in the idea and was willing to work with us and come to an arrangement that we could afford over time. That's what really saved, the idea of Beacon, the dream, and made it possible. So we're going to be sticking with them for a while because they've been really good to us.
I was going to say you have a little chat with Mark Thomas at Plastech down in the South Coast, who's been doing the Airfix Spitfire Mark 124.
Right. Yeah, I'd definitely be interested because it's always good to have multiple suppliers. Because if you remember what happened to Edward with the fire.
Yeah.
Like how many of their tools have been bricked because of that fire? So if that happened to our supplier, it'd be pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have a few eggs in different baskets. So down the line, I think we definitely like to work with more British tooling companies or EU. We try to get everything made in the UK. If we can't get it made in the UK, we'll try and get it in Europe. But I don't really want to go any further than that, just simply because the cost of shipping, the containers now, it's like, is it about £12,000 for a container these days?
It's gone back down now. It's gone back down. It has gone back down. Yeah. There was containers were just getting ridiculous, especially with the blockage on the canal and stuff like that. It was horrendous. We were, I think China took more of a whack than we did, to be fair, because of that. But it's containers of, I think they 10 times basically. I think a container now is about £1,200 or £2,000, where the peak of it was £14,000. I remember seeing tires getting delivered, and they had cranked up they put stuff inside the tires to fill that container up to full, and there was a picture on YouTube where the weight of the container went on the trailer and broke the trailer, because the weight of that is inside, they just packed it as much as they could of goods, so that was back in the day, that was. But few suggestions: Hurricane with a ME110.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, Hurricane Stanford Tuck, a JU88, Celtic West Hurricane HE111.
Yeah, that's another solid one.
Hurricane from the 303 Squadron would be.
Is 303 Squadron one of the Polish squadrons, if memory serves?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that'd be nice. We definitely want to represent as many of the allies as we can in the Battle of Britain setting, because there were Commonwealth and Allied squadrons, which is really interesting stories.
Based out of RAF Norfolk, I think they were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lancaster. I'd love to do a Lancaster. It's got to be done at some point. Doesn't really fit into the Battle of Britain range initially, but I would certainly want it to move on to a Lanc as quickly as possible after we're done with these first ones.
So you'll be producing more bombers for the Battle of Britain then, I guess. German bombers.
Most of them, most of the bombers apart from the Blenheim, because the Blenheim's a pretty solid RAF bomber. You've got the Henkel, the Dornier, and the Junkers, and the Stuka, I suppose. There will be fairly sizable bombers in the BOB collection, but absolutely, we're going to have to crack on to a Bomber Command collection immediately afterwards. And maybe one of the things I was thinking of doing is maybe doing it's like an air war over Europe collection. So you've got the night, the RAF at night and the USAAF during the day, and maybe running those two collections concurrently. So maybe doing a Lancaster, then do a B-17, then do a Wellington, then do a B-24, and kind of alternate it a bit more. So once we've got that confidence with the project management essentially and the research, we might be able to handle more collections at once. And if we've got that steady release schedule, we've got them another Stuka, another Junkers 87.
Manchester,
that's on the list. Really interesting aircraft.
Somebody said Mosquito wasn't in the Battle of Britain, was it?
No,
later, 1941.
Well, later. No.
Shame.
Somebody's saying a 91 Go4 collection.
Yeah, that'd be solid. F-15s, MiG-29s, lovely.
But it doesn't go down so well. Airfix tried the Afghanistan collection in 148 and it didn't go well, but then again they had some bad press over it as well, didn't they? So
I don't know about that. I do remember the Operation Herrick vehicles, and they did a nice Merlin. That was it.
They did the Merlin.
I have no idea how they did.
They did the Super Cat, the Jackal, they did a BAE Warrior, and I take it to model shows because it does get some attention. They did 1/48 scale quad bikes, right? And they're actually really cute. And I enjoy building them, apart from losing the fucking seat.
Spending the entire show looking for it.
I didn't find it, and
No.
where it landed was nowhere near where it should have flicked to. You know, it was in my cousin's house in Scotland. No, but it wasn't. So I found it when I was hoovering up the floor one day. So
At least you found it before the Hoover.
yeah, well, I put like net curtain. You know, what's it called? You know, the net curtain stuff.
Oh yeah.
Put that on the front, and then just suck it up through, and then just.
Fair enough.
When I got a handful, then just suck. That's how I do it, so I don't lose anything, just in case. But luckily, there was two in the set, so I built one on the trailer. But it was really good, yeah. Maybe, Halifax is there. Maybe Defense of the Reich collection as a balance of the RAF and the USAF. Oof.
That's an interesting title. I quite like. That's quite grand sounding. So that would be what you've got. Yeah, your USAF RAF bombers. You've got in terms of the Luftwaffe, what Focke-Wulf, ME-262,
TA-152.
TA-152, yeah.
Yeah, DA-49G by then, like F4G. That would actually be quite a good way to bring all of those different air forces and aircraft into a unified collection. So that's actually a pretty solid suggestion. Again, that's why it's great to get on and talk to people, because they have wonderful ideas.
Twin engine bombers.
Yeah.
Falklands, yeah. Including a
Falklands.
Black Buck, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a German aircraft from the Battle of Britain that not a lot of people know about, which is a Dornier DO-215.
Is that the seaplane?
No, it's an inline-engined version of the DO-17.
Oh, it's the one with the weird shaped body, isn't it? I think there was the
Slightly,
215, 217,
It had jumbo engines in it, I think.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people model that at all.
Whirlwind, great suggestion, Matt.
Yeah.
Was
those
technically in
those were
service
in
during
service.
the Battle of Britain.
No combat.
Was
record,
it?
as far as yeah, it was. Yeah, it's crazy that you wouldn't think so, but yeah, the Whirlwind was in. I believe it was in Scotland. Was it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It was in
Lossiemouth or something?
Scotland. Yeah, up north somewhere.
But I
but,
never knew that.
They only had
Yeah.
a couple, and they weren't serviceable, and they weren't technically declared operational until like December. But they were
They were
in
there.
service on paper during the Battle of Britain.
And there's no reason that we can't expand the Battle of Britain collection later. You know, it's obviously got a sort of a cult following, if you like. There's no reason we can't add to it down the line. You know, but
How many tools are you looking at building a year then? Are you just going to do like 2 a year? Is that the idea?
It really depends. If Brian can come back in the capacity that we hope he will, and I think he'd like to if Beacon was more successful, or continued its current success, because obviously he's a busy man. He's got a family. He's got a full-time job the same as me. So he's kind of, for now, he's done his part, which was a massive part. That design work was intense. He had nothing else to do during the lockdown. So if he came back and if we were able to make that work, he's so prolific, he could design so quickly. I'd really like to do at least 6 tools a year if we had that capacity.
Wow.
But for the time being, I think we'd be doing really well if we did 2 or 3. But it just, the more momentum we build and the more of a solid team we can assemble, the quicker we can get these things done, because they're not big, they're not big molds. They're not complicated. It's not like we're doing the 30-second scale Mosquito, with full engine interior and all that stuff. So it's just how much time we can throw at it. What we get? F109 FGK, Focke-Wulf, TA-50 M16. Yeah. That's a really solid Luftwaffe list for the defense of the Reich. Yeah.
Black Rifle again popped in. Fast jets and modern strategic bombers down the line would be great to see at this scale. There's not many good quality kits of that stuff out there. Gulf War followed by RAF, USAF in Gulf War 2.
Yeah,
so,
I think that'd be popular. Yeah. Vietnam would be another popular one, I think. The Thunder Chief, Phantom. I think a lot of people would like the Phantom. Could there be licensing issues with releasing decal options for the Battle of Britain film aircraft set? Probably. We can get around that by you just using the generic decals, because as far as I'm aware, I'd have to rewatch the film, but I think most of them use the same size codes. The markings weren't all over the place as they perhaps would have been in the actual Battle of Britain. People have been asking whether we can do the Merlin engines for the Henkel 111 as well, so that you can do the Battle of Britain version of the Henkel 111. And the answer is yes, we have to do that. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Do the Merlin engined 109s as well. The
the Bouchon. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But we can probably do a resin nose for that, because the engine cowling is a separate piece on the 109, and at some point we're going to have to do a drop-in resin engine. When we have ground crew and thing that we're working on at the moment, that'd be a nice resin piece. So as an upgrade set, perhaps the Merlin engine, Bouchon, and 111s. Haven't they got a name? The 111s? There's something Spanish. I can't remember. FAA collection skewer, Barracuda, Fulmer, Rock, Swordfish, Martlet. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be
See,
good.
this thing, there's no end of possibilities with regards to themed collections, space stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, mate? It's so underused in scale modelling these days.
Yeah, you're right.
And the thing is, though, is that I wasn't around with the first moon landing, but I was around when Challenger went bang. I wrote an article on it on my Substack quite clearly that I love space, and I go into scale modelling through space. And it's one of those things where, when the teacher asks you what do you want to be when you grow up, and I say I want to be an astronaut. Well, not a chance. After seeing Challenger go bang, I wouldn't do anything to get into any sort of going space flight. It scared the shit out of me because I've been so enamored by that vision of Challenger going pop back in the day. All right, designs are different now, obviously, but still, I wouldn't get into that tin can that Bezos has designed or Branson's tin pot attempt at getting into space either. Not a chance. But, we're in one of the biggest space races now. Well, even bigger because we're going to Mars. Forget going back to the moon. Our aim is Mars. And I'm just surprised that back in the, when they were going to the moon, all these manufacturers are bringing out all this what ifs, etc. in space thing, rovers, rockets, the whole shebang. The last thing I can remember that's actually been designed is the International Space Station by Revell. That's the last thing, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah. Models inspire people.
Yeah. So they need to do something in space, but I don't think in 144. It's all big stuff in space. I think 144.
Yeah, it would have to be like 288th or something. I did build the ISS, and it was an Eastern European kit or Russian. I can't remember what the make was because it was 20 years ago. It was decent. It was quite small, so it was manageable. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to see. I think it'd be nice to see another manufacturer come onto the scene and basically approach space the way that we've approached Battle of Britain. Really make it their thing. That would be fun.
And also, there's the thing about like the Vulcan is a fairly big plane, so 144 will be perfect for you guys. And there is 1:100 scale and 1:288 scales of the Vulcan.
There is, I think, Great Wall do a 144 scale one, but Adam Pulteney, who's a good friend of ours, Mr. Vulcan is what I call him because he just knows everything there is to know about Vulcans. He's brilliant. He's just waiting for us to say, write us a Vulcan brief. You know everything. Tell us what everyone else does wrong, and we'll do it right. So yeah, I'd love to do a V bomber collection. That'd be an obvious one.
Do the original iteration of the Vulcan, the B1.
B1,
different wings.
Yeah. Because it's quite significantly different, isn't it? You need its own kit.
Yeah. Definitely. Just want to say, Trumpeter do a 144 scale Vulcan. Yes, they do. But it's got 4 wheels on the front.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's like Vulcans seem to be plagued by these odd observational errors.
Yeah,
and I struggle to understand it. Not that we're perfect. It's like we try our best. But I will literally spend weeks poring over photographs and books. Totally, I'm very much of the Mark Postlethwaite school of research. He's the guy that did. He's doing our upcoming box arts. We're using some of these amazing oil paintings. If you're on Instagram, follow Mark Postlethwaite, artist. He's amazing as an aviation artist. He basically sort of mentored me in the beginning of saying, look, you have to go out there and find the answers for yourself because there's so much to digest, even just when it comes to Spitfires alone. And I think he sort of he was kind of firm with me in a way because he wouldn't let me just Mark, what's the deal with the radio mast? He said, go look it up in this book. And I went and looked it up in this book, and then I found other books to read, and the artists really know how to research, and that's why they get things right. And you know, maybe it's pressure from the top in model companies. I don't know, but yeah, a lot of very strange things seem to sneak through on a lot of modern tools. Not across the board, but you know, it does happen.
Just I think then we've come to an agreement. Then the next kit you should do is a Vulcan. That would cement. If you've got the man, and what to be fair, it wouldn't take a lot because you would probably do that Vulcan in 2 hours, wouldn't you? In theory,
possibly.
I'm just thinking of. I was in the attic. I've got the
Going down
Dragon
submarine route again.
Shut up, you tart. Right, I've got the Vulcan from Dragon upstairs in my loft, and I think it's a 1 to 200 scale, and it is basically 2 halves, and then you attach the bits inside the cockpit, and boom, then you put the undercarriage on everything. It's not a difficult build, and if you're looking for that, because in theory, because you're not having to, like your wings on the Spitfire. You've done them as one piece. You haven't got to screw them together and everything.
Yeah.
And
I think that was a challenge for the toolmaker, but they did it.
I'm just thinking, I think the Vulcan is to put Beacon again on the map. Why did Airfix retool the Vulcan so quickly? When they got taken up, they're right, we've got to do the Vulcan. That's it. Boom. The Hellcat was a bit of a misdemeanor because they were already designing that when it was Helitype. There was already talk about doing a Hellcat, but the real kit when the chief, what's he called, Lyndon took over was Vulcan. So it was established. The other one that they missed out on is Concorde.
They do a 144 Concorde, or is it?
Yeah, I've built them both. I've built the original off the plans Vulcan, Concorde from 1960. And then when they actually flew it, they then retooled it again. That's the last time they tooled it. Rebel one is dog shit. The Hellas 172 is a pile of crap, and it's big. But 1/44 scale Vulcan Concorde, do something. So do something. No, do something modern in terms of. There's a 50-year gap, isn't it? So you're doing propeller planes to do jets and do Concorde and. That in 144, I think that's a winner.
It might be nice to sort of spread, pick three collections to work on, but spread them across time. So we've got our World War II one, and maybe then we could have a Cold War one and a modern one. So it might be that the V bombers would make that nice Cold War collection, because you're absolutely right. That would really put us on the map. And if we can get the tools made. And again, the more people who kind of get what we're trying to do and get excited about it and get involved and want to be a part of the story, because ultimately this is kind of a community effort, the more likely it is that we'll be able to do that. If we were able to get 500 backers on the next Kickstarter, that'd be amazing. And then from there it might go to 700, then it might be 1,000. Every time. You got a lot of companies that use Kickstarter and crowdfunding. Kickstarter is just a well-established, site, but you can use any crowdfunding platform. They don't do anything for you other than just contain it in one place, which is fine because it's convenient. But the more you do, and the more you prove yourself as a company that can deliver and has vision and can plan projects and execute them and deliver on budget and on time, the more people get excited. So when you're on your 12th or your 15th Kickstarter, you see a lot of miniatures companies, in the tabletop and board gaming industry, they're doing over £1 million each time. Now, that's not going into the director's pockets, that's going to probably 4,000 backers who want their game, or they want their, but you can afford a lot of tooling with £1 million, and after that, the actual cost of shooting the plastic isn't really that great. The massive bulk of the cost in developing a plastic kit is the tool, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, I get that.
The more people are behind it, the more ambitious we can be with the tooling, because we know we can do the designs. We absolutely can do the designs and the research and get it right, and it's just the capacity that we're going to be building.
But multi-million-pound companies use Kickstarter now as a way of advertising their goods anyway. Like look at Pebble. They released a watch, and instead of then going into the market and selling that watch, when they went to the new one, they go, "We're going to put it back on Kickstarter because we get the finance behind us to release it."
It works for both parties, because the companies get their funding straight up, and that means they don't have to pay interest through a bank, or they don't have to pay dividends to shareholders who may one day turn around and say, we want to sell the company, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's the deal with the devil you do with investors. That'd be nice to avoid. But also, it gives backers the opportunity to not only be involved and feel a part of the process and have a personal connection to the product, which I really like. When I buy something, if I feel like a personal connection to it, that's great. But it also gives you a chance of, having exclusive rewards, getting things you might not have otherwise got, being part of that sort of community that's behind that product. So I've got no problem with big companies using Kickstarter as essentially a pre-order platform, as long as they deliver. That's, 3D printing Kickstarters are notorious for being, dodgy. It's like there's a couple of ones that I can think of. I won't even name drop them in case, But literally some of them have run off with the money and you never heard of them. I lost 600 quid on a 3D printing Kickstarter once. They'd already had one behind them, but they pushed the boat out way too far. All the money got spent. They never finished, and they never delivered, and they all just disappeared off into the night. That's when it, people have a problem with it. But just having a big Kickstarter is totally fine, as long as you're professional about it and you can handle it and you can communicate with your backers and deliver in a reasonable time frame. Who knows, who knew that a container ship was going to get stuck in the Suez Canal? Those things happen, but it's not something that's, almost like acts of God, really. It's not really something you can control for. But beyond that, I think it's a really good platform.
Brilliant. It's, as I said, just on it quickly, if people don't realize how popular Concorde is, was it Lego have just released their Concorde in Lego or in brick, and that sold phenomenally well. So people do have Concorde still in them, and a lot of people still. Well, Filton has got a Concorde there, and they get hundreds of thousands of visitors a year looking at that Concorde. So just quickly, if you did a V-Bomber collection, take my money right now, says Black Rifle Wax.
I think a lot of people are feeling that.
Yeah, and then the other one I saw was Lego. The Lego one is pricey, I know that, but it just shows you that people are willing to buy it. The Death Star is one of the most expensive Lego kits, and they sell hundreds of thousands of them every year. So at the moment, B52 and 144 is known of as the Academy one. So
is that a fairly old tool, or is that
quite an old tooling? Academy don't do new toolings, do they?
B52 is really big, even in 144, but still, that'd be good to do. And you've got a cool space one as well, carrying the X1. That'd be something you'd enjoy.
Yeah. Well, somebody just put down there that a certain company has just released the XB 70 and 144.
Oh, that's the one, the XB70. That's not.
That's a big plane, isn't it? Definitely.
So I saw someone else in the comment mentioning the Nimrod. That's a nice suggestion. Good.
Yeah.
I quite like one. There's one. I think there's one at COV. That's a good shout. That would suit the Cold War heavy aircraft theme quite well.
Well, sorry to interject. The B-52 from Academy looks like they retooled it 2 years ago.
Oh, did they?
Good.
Yeah, I'm just looking on ScaleMates, but I mean, obviously, the accuracy of ScaleMates is questionable at the best of times. It's usually quite good, to be fair, but sometimes they do get things a little bit off piece because they're going off of community submissions, I think. But according to their information, the B-52 in 144th scale was a new tool or retooled in 2021.
Right. Well, we're nearly up to 10 o'clock. Is there any other questions from the panel for Will?
Oh, I've got one.
Go on then.
Trains when?
Trains when? Trains soon. Matt knows my dirty secret, and that is I'm actually a bit of a train nerd as well. And while Beacon has become, like a side gig, my actual hobby time is spent designing and 3D printing trains, because I can't afford Bachmann and Hornby and all that stuff. As much as I'd like to buy 6 locomotives a month, I can't do that. So I use my skills to actually sit down and design some. So I like N-Gauge. So that, again, it's the same 144 little things. I like little models. There might be a few things that might come out of that, with a bit more of a commercial angle. There's so many interesting ways to bridge the gap between scale modeling and model railways, and the two hobbies rarely talk to each other. I just find it so bizarre that you can't buy a plastic model of the Flying Scotsman at the moment. You just can't. And I'm like, it's the most famous train in the world, and you're telling me no one makes a kit of it? No one does. So that's another interesting possibility is model railways. Whether they're motorized or static, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to have some cool stuff to send you soon, Matt. Definitely.
Cheers. I
I was going to
appreciate
say
that.
you've got TT120.
Oh
Yeah.
man, there's so much.
I
So
was
many
at,
models, so little time.
Yeah, I know that's the problem, isn't it? I saw the TT120 new releases at the Hornby stand at Gaydon yesterday, and I was very, very impressed. I really like them. It's a good size. It'd be a good modeler's scale, especially for mechanisms. It's not as fiddly as N-Gauge.
The thing with TT120 is it's got quite a nice weight on it as well because the gauge is right, so it looks heavy and big, but it isn't.
Yeah. So of course, all British Railways models are all under gauged, 00 and N. It's not a scale track width for those who aren't into trains. What should it be? Is it 17, 18 millimeters or something for 00 or for 176
Yeah, I think
scale?
it's about 18.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they make it as 16, so it's all because it goes back to the days when motors were huge, so they had to make the body shells bigger to accommodate the motor rather than making the rails the right scale width apart. It's one of these weird anachronisms of model making that's never been fixed before Hornby decided to do TT120, which is correctly scaled on all dimensions. So it's kind of refreshing.
As you put the track together.
Yeah.
I don't go there with the track.
Yeah. Have they sorted that yet or not?
I don't think so. I mean, why would they bother?
Yeah, it was a bit. Will, can I just say from one of us here at Airfix and Chill, thank you for coming on and talking to us. It's been so helpful and enlightening to actually, we're seeing the birth of, I know you've been around for a year or so, but it is a birth of a new model firm, and that's what we don't see these days. Love your passion.
Yeah.
And honestly, mate, when you do your next Kickstarter, come back on Airfix and Chill. We'll chat about it on here.
I
We'll
would love to. Yeah.
Get everyone involved. Also, remember, go to the website. If it's a bit slow, don't worry about it. They're going to migrate to a different server at some point. But yeah, go along and buy some of their kit or buy that BF109 and that Spitfire dogfight set. It's cracking little model. I'll build mine I'll probably do it in 2 weeks' time. When my new Outlaw paints turn up, and I want to also try using my new Ultra that turned up today, which I'm really excited about. Airbrush. But yeah, thanks, Will, for coming on tonight. So I've really enjoyed it. I'm listening to you, and it's just you've got the passion there. And yeah, Bearcat. But I think Will, you've got, and I hope we'll get your founder on as well. You're the founder. Is he called Brian? Is it?
Right. Yeah. I think we'll have to go and convince him. I think get him some craft ales. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a surprise to be invited. I've always liked these videos. Just seeing you guys sit down and chill kind of reminds me of the kind of the new ways we found to hang out during lockdown, and the good things to come out of COVID. So it's been an absolute delight being on. Thank you for listening to me ramble and be excited. And it was good to see so many new faces in the chat saying such nice things and being enthusiastic. So thanks all round, really. And can't wait to see more of you.
Yeah, it's great, Will. And I said we wish you all the success in the future with Beacon. Obviously, it's good. I know the chat's called Airfix and Chill, but I keep saying to people it's not necessarily about Airfix, right? It's just a play on words. It's every Netflix and chill. We're Airfix and Chill. So, and most of these people who listen to us are on their workbench working away with us in the background and popping in to put their 10 pence in when they feel they need to. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of it. We're in the background, but people are working on their benches. But thanks again, Will. Definitely in January. Was it January you're looking at doing it, or February for the Kickstarter?
January, February. On the website, obviously you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. We do have Twitter, but we don't really use it. Twitter's a funny place these days. We have got an email newsletter that you can sign up to. So there's many ways to keep in touch. I'm always at the end of my DMs on Facebook and Instagram. I'm very active with replying to comments and messages because I just really enjoy talking to you guys. It really makes the job a delight. So feel free to reach out and follow us on whatever platform you want. And we look forward to seeing you.
Brilliant. Again, thanks again. So we'll see you hopefully in just after Christmas with your new Kickstarter.
Yeah. January, February, I think we'll have news of a launch date.
Brilliant. Righto, folks, we'll say goodnight. All of us here from the panel, thank you all for watching. And again, we'll see you next Monday, where we will have a guy that I met at Bovington and at Yeovil Model Show. What am I saying? Yeovil Model Show, 3D Gizmo, who is a 3D printer extraordinaire. Honestly, some of the stuff he's done. If you want to have a quick look at some of it, look at on the Yeovil Model Show video that I put out. I think Alex has done it on his as well for Yeovil Model Show. Just look at the stuff he's producing in 1/35th scale. Printed resin. It's amazing. But he's here next week to chat to us about his hobby, as he calls it. Anyway, thanks all. We'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.